Good day, everyone. Good evening in my case. We might see a little bit of a storm outside. I wanted to take this opportunity to reflect on the manifold of choices. What I mean by that is a person can do just about anything or set out to do just about anything. And when we're doing things that influence the world in a fairly clear manner, it's best to exercise some shrewdness, some judiciousness before one acts. But it's also not good to paralyze yourself with the sense of responsibility that follows every choice that we make. Looks like also the power may go out here in a second. Regardless, I've made videos where I talk about the shallow nature of life today. And that ought to be pointed out. It can be, in fact, quite self-evident whenever a shallow life is juxtaposed against or contrasted against something far better for the soul. I'm somebody who enjoys very much the history of human culture, the history of the humanities, in the real sense of the word. I love old, meaningful literature and art. In fact, I find those things so inspiring, and it's a shame that I'd say the imprint and the influence that I understand all the great art and thought that has preceded me to bear. The imprint and the influence that I understand all the great art and thought that has preceded me to bear. My mind wandered and thus the grammar suffered, but who can blame me? It's a tongue twister. Anyways, back to the video. Is not exactly felt as fully as it could today, so it seems to be. That's something that tends to be a major point of anguish in myself. Nevertheless, I am persuaded and becoming more optimistic of the notion that this could change. We can always be drawing from the rich bounty of those who held on to the earth before us and who created these things in order to impress us and in order to guide us in a noble direction. Any culture, as they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. Very, very rare heights for human beings take years and years and years to build up. So it's very good to retain the best of what came before when moving forward. Now that was all. I'm ruminating here. I'm musing. I'm chewing the fat a little bit. But in our fast-moving and sterile age, sometimes it's good to have a reminder of the fact that we can take our time and sort of stop and think and contemplate and consider the complexity of the world we inhabit. If we want to experience beautiful things, if we really want to get to the source, the true source of all these, beguiling trinkets that are dangled in front of us, in form but not essence, through advertisements, through, dreams that are sold to us, things of that nature. If we really want to get directly to the source of that stuff, we have to render our minds more receptive to such things. We need to discipline and cultivate ourselves in order to live rich lives. I try to encourage reading as much as I can in my videos. I understand that for somebody who's not used to reading a lot, it can be hard to push yourself to read in isolation. I really think, even if you were locked in a jail cell, you should push yourself to read as much as possible. But culture is a social product. It is a civilizational exchange that is, the other people must be included in this project, and the things that we feel are I'd say, most excellent when they can reach as many people who can make use of such sentiment as possible. Any thought you have on history, on the trajectory of a country, of the history of thought, of what greatness looks like in a society, what prosperity and progress look like. These ideas are coming to you through the pressures of a society, through the pressures of a civilizational project that so many people are a part of. So we are missing, I think, that sense of cultivation, that sense of speech and things directed towards us that are speaking towards this non-commercial essence that we bear. That is a source of so much happiness that we haven't quite been able to explain because of the poverty of the popular notions circling around, fluttering about in culture today. And if we want to change that, it will take effort, but we are in a unique position to use the media at our fingertips well. And if this, by the way, even if this sort of way I speak seems unusual, characterize it as you will. It really shouldn't be. I think more people should aim towards sincerity and the cultivation of their communicative abilities. If you have something, I mean, there may be. I've met people who struggle to put their thoughts into words, struggle to find the language for who they actually are, which means they live in a state of being unrealized perpetually. That's a torment. That is a torture. That's kind of what keeps people up at night, what keeps people wanting to whip out their phone at night, that keeps them unable to chew and digest a complicated thought. The more encouragement there is, to sort of not do that, to be a human being, to sit and develop yourself, the better. And the world will become better. And we won't be as, we'll say, unhappy as we otherwise are. All right, that was enough for one video. Take care.